Pamela had my unmarked FBI surveillance vehicle towed at 2 in the morning, claiming it was abandoned. But when she forced open the locked door to photograph the interior, she committed federal tampering. The serious felony charge that followed was definitely not something her neighborhood HOA authority could dismiss. My name is Marcus Vance, and I am a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'm currently based out of the busy field office in Miami, Florida. I have worked organized crime and public corruption cases for 16 long years. I frequently conduct covert surveillance operations. These critical operations require absolute discretion, immense patience, and vehicles that perfectly blend into any environment. My job often involves extended stakeouts and highly sensitive undercover work. I use specialized equipment that absolutely cannot be compromised. What Pamela did not know when she targeted my vehicle was that she had just tampered with federal law enforcement property during an active case. That is a severe crime the Bureau takes extremely seriously. I live in Cypress Lakes, a quiet subdivision built in 2016, located right on the beautiful northwest side of the greater Miami area. The neighborhood is a peaceful mix of families, retirees, and working professionals. The HOA handles basic maintenance and manages the community spaces. For 4 years, I lived there entirely without incident. I kept a very low profile, exactly as my demanding job requires. Then Pamela Higgins moved in exactly 6 houses down from me. She had golden blonde hair and carried herself with an unbelievable arrogance. She acted like she was personally responsible for maintaining order in the entire neighborhood. She got elected to the HOA board within 2 short months and aggressively became president shortly after that. Her ultimate obsession was vehicles. She absolutely hated anything she considered unsightly, suspicious, or out of place in her community. Naturally, my unmarked work vehicle quickly became her main target. The FBI uses a wide variety of unmarked vehicles for covert surveillance work. Mine is a silver Toyota Camry with a completely stock appearance. It looks exactly like every other boring mid-size sedan around. That unremarkable appearance is exactly the point. It has no government plates, absolutely no visible equipment, and nothing that identifies it as a federal vehicle. To anyone looking, it is just a normal car. I park it in my driveway when I am home, and sometimes I leave it parked out on the public street overnight when I am using my personal truck. The vehicle is registered, insured, and completely legal to park. Pamela blindly decided it looked abandoned. The very first notice magically appeared tucked under my windshield wiper 3 weeks after she became president. It stated an unidentified vehicle was parked there. The note claimed it was parked for an extended period and must be moved or towed per HOA regulations. I thoroughly checked the official HOA rules. There was a provision about inoperable or abandoned vehicles. But there was absolutely nothing about how long a vehicle could be legally parked on a public street. The street parking is county property, not HOA jurisdiction. I completely ignored the ridiculous notice. I simply moved the car into my driveway. A week later, I was working a grueling surveillance operation that required me to be out for 3 consecutive nights. I left the Camry parked safely on the street. I did this because my personal truck was blocking the driveway, and I did not want to shuffle heavy vehicles at 2 in the morning when I got home. On the 3rd night, I returned home exhausted at 1:45. After a very long stakeout, I pulled up to my house and realized the Camry was completely gone. I called the non-emergency police line immediately. The dispatcher quickly checked their records and confirmed it. They said the vehicle had been towed by South Beach Recovery and Towing. It was done at the direct request of the Cypress Lakes HOA for being an abandoned vehicle. I was absolutely furious, but kept my control. I called the towing company and firmly explained I needed to retrieve the vehicle immediately. They gave me the impound lot address and told me it would cost $350 to officially release it. I drove straight to the impound lot and paid the hefty fee. When they finally brought the Camry around, I did my standard security check before driving away. That is exactly when I noticed something was very wrong. The driver's side door lock had fresh, deep scratches all around it. The damage was perfectly consistent with someone using a Slim Jim or a lockpick tool. The locked door had been forcefully pried open. I checked the interior incredibly carefully. The glove box was hanging wide open. Sensitive papers stored in the center console had been noticeably moved around. Someone had definitely been inside the vehicle. I drove straight home, parked safely in my garage, and immediately called my direct supervisor, Special Agent in Charge, Sarah Mitchell. I quickly informed her that someone had broken into the surveillance unit. I explained it was towed by the HOA, and when I picked it up, there was clear evidence the door was forced open and the interior searched. She immediately asked me if any operational equipment was compromised. I assured her I never leave operational equipment in the vehicle overnight. But I stressed that someone successfully accessed a federal law enforcement vehicle without any authorization, which is felony tampering. She ordered me to file a report with the Miami-Dade Police Department immediately. She promised to send our specialized evidence response team to thoroughly process the vehicle for any fingerprints and DNA. I quickly contacted the Miami-Dade Police Department and filed a formal report for severe vehicle tampering. Then, I sat down at my computer and carefully reviewed my high-definition home security camera footage. My cameras perfectly cover my driveway and a large part of the street. The clear footage showed the heavy tow truck arriving at 2:15 in the morning, but right before the tow truck hooked up the Camry. Another vehicle pulled up. It was a white luxury SUV that I instantly recognized as Pamela's. Pamela confidently got out, walked all around the Camry with her glowing phone, and took several flash pictures. She forcefully tried the locked door handles. When the doors obviously did not open, she actually pulled something from her designer purse. It looked exactly like a professional Slim Jim tool used for breaking in. She worked aggressively on the driver's door for about 2 minutes and successfully got it open. She spent 5 full minutes inside the vehicle with a bright flashlight, clearly searching through the entire interior. She was opening compartments and photographing the contents like a spy. Then she casually closed the door and signaled for the waiting tow truck to proceed. It was all caught on high-definition, undeniable video. It was clear footage showing Pamela Higgins forcibly entering my vehicle and conducting an illegal search. I saved the footage and sent it directly to Sarah Mitchell and Detective O'Connor, who was handling the case. Detective O'Connor came by my house the very next morning. He stated the video showed crystal clear evidence of vehicle burglary and criminal tampering. He noted that it being a federal vehicle elevated everything. I asked him exactly what kind of charges we were looking at. He explained there would be state charges for vehicle burglary and criminal tampering. But since this was an official FBI vehicle, there was much more. He said there would likely be heavy federal charges for directly interfering with federal law enforcement operations. Even though it was not operational at the time, it is still federal property used for duties. I understood completely and told him I would coordinate directly with the United States Attorney's Office. Sarah Mitchell assigned a specialized FBI evidence response team to meticulously process the damage. Camry. They expertly documented the forced entry and collected clear fingerprints from the door and interior. They officially confirmed that Pamela's reckless actions constituted unauthorized access to federal property. The U.S. Attorney's Office carefully reviewed the solid case and enthusiastically decided to file federal charges. Pamela was officially charged with tampering with a vehicle used in federal law enforcement operations. That is a massive felony under federal law, carrying a terrifying penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison. She was also heavily charged at the state level with vehicle burglary and malicious criminal mischief. Pamela was abruptly arrested just 3 days later. Heavily armed federal agents and Miami-Dade police executed the early morning arrest at her pristine home at exactly 6 o'clock. I was not involved in the arrest. However, several shocked neighbors witnessed the spectacle, and the juicy story spread incredibly quickly. The Cypress Lakes neighborhood Facebook page totally exploded with wild rumors and endless speculation. Pamela's expensive attorney desperately tried to argue she was conducting legitimate HOA business by checking an abandoned vehicle before towing. But the crisp video evidence was completely and utterly damning. The footage showed her using a specialized tool to force the door open, which is absolutely not legitimate HOA activity under any circumstances. It showed her actively searching through the private interior. That had absolutely nothing to do with verifying if a car was abandoned. And most importantly, she had aggressively done all of this to a vehicle that was completely legally parked on a public county street. Her attorney desperately tried to negotiate a soft plea deal, but the U.S. Attorney's Office was entirely inflexible. Tampering with federal law enforcement property is taken incredibly seriously for a good reason. It can easily compromise massive investigations and directly endanger undercover agents. The high-profile case finally went to trial in federal court 4 months later. I took the stand and testified under oath. I testified about the vehicle's specific use for FBI operations, the shocking discovery of the forced entry, and the security footage. The evidence response team testified about the fingerprints and unauthorized access. Detective O'Connor gave excellent testimony regarding the thorough state investigation. The jury deliberated for a mere 3 hours. They found her guilty on the massive federal tampering charge and both state charges. The stern federal judge sentenced Pamela to 18 hard months in federal prison, followed by 2 years of strict supervised release. She was also ordered to pay a hefty restitution of $4,000 that covered the cost of professionally processing the vehicle, completely changing all the compromised locks and compensating for my valuable time. The HOA board removed her as president immediately after conviction. They issued a formal, groveling apology to me and explicitly clarified that vehicle towing would only occur for legitimate safety hazards, not petty aesthetic complaints. A retired military man stepped up next. David Henderson was quickly elected as the brand new HOA president. He contacted me personally to apologize and to ensure I understood the new board had absolutely no interest in harassing law-abiding residents. Pamela served 14 miserable months of her sentence at a federal correctional facility. She was finally released on strict supervised release and moved far out of state, relocating all the way to Georgia. Her beautiful house in Cypress Lakes was quickly sold while she was still incarcerated. The Camry was returned to active service after the evidence response team completely cleared it of any lingering issues. I still use it for intense surveillance operations, though it now boasts upgraded locks and serious additional security features. The bizarre case became a mandatory training example at the FBI Academy in Quantico. It shows exactly why agents need to secure vehicles perfectly and document potential tampering immediately. It highlights what constitutes federal vehicle tampering and why such severe charges are pursued vigorously. Several neighbors approached me after the explosive trial to express their strong support. They sincerely apologized for not speaking up earlier when Pamela was actively targeting various innocent residents. One relieved neighbor told me she was so incredibly thankful someone finally held Pamela accountable for wildly overstepping her imaginary authority. I still live comfortably in the Cypress Lakes neighborhood. The community is wonderfully peaceful now, and the new HOA board focuses on actual, meaningful community needs rather than micromanaging the residents. My vehicles park exactly wherever I need them, without issue. I occasionally see the crazy security footage when reviewing old case files. It still completely amazes me that Pamela actually thought forcing open a locked vehicle and searching it was appropriate HOA enforcement. She saw a regular car she did not recognize and arrogantly decided her neighborhood authority extended to breaking into it like a common criminal. She clearly did not realize that some vehicles are special. She learned that some belong to federal law enforcement, and tampering with them carries devastating consequences that cannot be dismissed with a simple apology. You cannot just pay a fine for messing with the FBI if you have ever had a toxic HOA president. Damage your property while claiming fake authority. Or if someone broke into your vehicle claiming they had the right to do so. Share your crazy story in the comments. Send this story to anyone who desperately needs a firm reminder that HOA authority has massive legal limits. Remind them that breaking state and federal laws in the name of neighborhood enforcement has consequences. Subscribe for more satisfying stories about arrogant people who confused a tiny neighborhood title with absolute immunity from prosecution. Sometimes the vehicle you decide to break into belongs to the wrong person.